Welcome back, reality designers, to the Hypnosis by Design podcast.
Hello, everyone.
We're filling in for the wonderful Denny Van today. And, well, we know she's a big fan of the kinds of conversations we get into here, so we're excited to dive in for you all.
Absolutely. It's always, a pleasure to dig into these human design concepts.
Totally. And today, we're taking a real deep dive into something quite fascinating within human design. It's often maybe misunderstood. The heretic. Specifically through the lens of the fifth line profile. Now, when we say heretic, we're not talking about, like, religious defiance or anything.
No, not at all. Think of it more as a specific role. How someone with this fifth line interacts, how they influence the world around them.
Right, a role. And our main source for this exploration today comes from Uru Hu's work.
That's right. His teachings on heretics in the fifth line will be sort of unpacking what it means to embody this heretical function and the unique dynamics that come with that fifth line, the line of universalization.
Universalization.
Okay.
And for you listening to Learner, maybe you're prepping for a meeting, trying to figure out group dynamics, or honestly just curious about why people act the way they do.
Yeah.
This deep dive should offer some, well, potentially surprising insights. How certain people are seen, how they operate.
Yeah.
And we really want to make this clear, engaging, maybe spark a few aha moments.
Without getting too overwhelming, hopefully.
Exactly. So let's just jump in. Universalization, what exactly is that when we talk about the fifth line?
Okay, so the fifth line, fundamentally, it's about universalization. Think of it like having the potential to impact strangers, people well beyond your immediate circle.
Okay, reaching strangers. How's that different from other lines, like, say, the third line?
Well, the third line, for example, tends to learn and influence more through direct personal experience, trial and error within their known environment. The fifth line's potential impact is just inherently broader.
Gotcha. A wider ripple effect. But you mentioned earlier that this ability, this reach, it comes with a limitation. What's the catch?
The catch. Yes. What's really interesting is that despite this potential for broad impact, there's often this underlying pressure. That's the word Ra used.
Pressure.
Yeah, a constant kind of pressure deal, he called it. Even if things look great on the outside, for the fifth line person, there's this subtle, almost subconscious tension they're always navigating.
A pressure deal. That's vivid and kind of surprising, especially because the fifth line is often seen so positively, right? You mentioned it's the only exalted line in the Rei Ching.
It is.
For someone maybe newer to human design, what does exalted actually mean here?
Good question. So the Rei Ching is this specific lens within human design, drawing from the I Ching, but synthesized in a unique way. When a line is exalted, it means it carries a kind of archetype that naturally attracts positive projections, high expectations from others.
Like what kind of expectations?
Oh, you see labels like general, therapist, even saint or savior, these really idealized roles that people just sort of project onto the fifth line individual.
Wow. So if I meet someone and they have a fifth line in their profile, I might unconsciously just assume these great things about them.
Pretty much, yeah. Almost immediately.
Yeah.
Ray's classic example was the fifth line baby.
The baby.
Yeah, the unconscious expectation from everyone around is, oh, this is going to be the best baby.
Yeah.
Perfectly content, easy, sleeps through the night from day one.
Yeah, the fantasy baby.
Exactly. The celebrity baby of human design. Instant, impossible expectation.
Right. But then, of course, the baby acts like a baby, cries, needs things.
Precisely. And that's where the dynamic gets tricky. When the fifth line person inevitably does something human, something that breaks that perfect illusion, there's often this sense of letdown from others, disappointment, maybe even a feeling like they've been betrayed somehow, or the person isn't living up to their potential. It's this tension they live with.
Man, that sounds like walking a tightrope constantly. So what happens if the fifth line person starts to, buy into those projections, if they start believing the hype?
That's the critical point. Rat was very clear. The moment a fifth line person believes those idealized projections are the whole truth about them, they're kind of lost.
Lost? How so?
They start identifying with an image, an illusion that isn't really them. It's vital for fifth line people to realize that the positive feedback, the admiration, it often says more about what the other person needs or wants to see.
So it's not necessarily about the fifth line person themselves, but about the projector's own hopes.
Exactly. Their own desires projected onto the fifth line. Like you said before, a screen. Rat even used the word chimera.
Chimera, like the mythical creature made of different parts.
Yeah. An illusion constructed from the hopes and expectations of others. People see what they want to see.
Okay, I can definitely see the pitfalls there. Huge pressure. But then you also said this projection thing, this potential trap, is actually the mechanism for universalization. How does that work? Seems backward.
Does seem like a paradox, doesn't it? But yeah, that positive projection, even with its dangers, is the very thing that draws strangers in. It creates the initial opening.
The hook?
Kind of, yeah. People are attracted because they feel, often unconsciously, that this fifth line person has something they need, something admirable, maybe the solution they're looking for.
Can you give an example? Maybe with Ra himself?
Sure. Uru Hu himself was a 51 profile, a fifth line personality. People came to him from all over the world, complete strangers. Why?
Because they projected onto him?
That he had the answers, right. That he could initiate them into this profound knowledge of human design, transform their lives. They approached him with that projection.
Okay.
And because he could initially deliver something that resonated with that basic hope, sharing the fundamental mechanics of the system that opened the door, it allowed for a deeper connection, a real impact.
Ah, I see. So the projection creates the opening, the initial trust almost, and then the sustained influence comes from their truth. Which brings us back to the heresy. What is the real heresy here?
Well, according to Ra, the true heresy is simply the capacity to speak your own truth, to be authentic.
Wait, but you said everyone has that potential.
Exactly. He stressed that. Speaking your truth isn't unique to the fifth line. Everyone can do it, theoretically.
So, what makes the fifth line the heretic then, if it's not just about telling the truth?
It's about how others encounter them, that filter of projection. That's the unique piece for the fifth line.
The filter.
Yes. And what kind of projection they attract depends on where that fifth line shows up in their specific design. Which gate, which line within the gate, that colors the expectation.
Okay, that makes sense. Like a fifth line in a gate about leadership might attract projections about being a savior leader.
Precisely. Or one in a communication gate might attract projections of perfect wisdom or eloquence. The flavor changes based on the context within the chart.
Got it. So they have this opening created by the projection, and then the opportunity is to offer what? Their outer authority. What's that exactly?
Right. Outer authority. It's basically the wisdom, the perspective, the guidance someone can naturally offer others, but only after they've correctly used their own internal decision-making process, their inner authority.
So figure yourself out first, then share.
In essence, yes. So the heretic, the fifth line, gets this initial audience because of projection. Then they have the chance to offer their authentic outer authority. And if that authority, that truth, is correct and resonates...
It can be universalized. It can spread.
Exactly. It can positively impact those strangers who were initially drawn in by the projection, but who are actually ready for that specific truth.
Wow. Powerful stuff. You also mentioned Gate 49, Line 5, specifically relating to crisis. Tell me more about that connection.
Yeah, the 49th gate, fifth line, its keynote, is about practical provisions in revolutionary times.
Practical provisions.
It highlights how the heretic often becomes incredibly valuable when things are unstable. During crises, revolutions, big shifts, people are looking for something different.
They need answers. New answers.
Right. They're actively seeking a different kind of truth, a practical way forward. And they often project the hope of finding that onto the fifth line individual, especially one with displacement. Maybe they have the practical solution.
So in chaotic times, that projection field around the fifth line can become even more intense, more focused on finding solutions.
Definitely. The need is greater, so the projection can be stronger. And finally, let's touch on that specific profile combination. The fifth line personality with a first line unconscious design. The 51 profile.
Okay, the 51, what does that create?
Ra called this the heretic investigator.
Heretic investigator. Why investigator?
Because the first line, especially in the unconscious design, brings this deep inherent need to dig down, to research, to understand the foundation, to really know the details, to investigate thoroughly.
Ah, so they need to know their stuff before they universalize it.
Pretty much. So you have someone who can reach the stranger, the fifth line, but who also has this internal drive from the first line to really ground what they're sharing in solid understanding.
That sounds like a potent mix.
It can be. But, and this is crucial, Ra always brought it back. These roles, heretic, investigator, they're secondary.
Secondary to what?
To the vehicle, the body, the life itself. That's primary. The roles are how that life expresses itself, but the foundation is always the physical form and its mechanics.
Right, the design itself. So as we all navigate our own lives, our interactions, It's worth considering these dynamics, isn't it? This projection, this potential for certain people, maybe even ourselves, to step into that heretical role, offering something unique, especially when things get tough. What really stands out to you about all this?
For me, it's that constant tension. The dance between the projection, often so idealized, and the actual person trying to live their truth underneath it all. It really shows how our perceptions, they can both open doors and build walls for people.
Yeah, absolutely. And maybe for everyone listening, think about the people you interact with. Do you ever notice this dynamic,
Yeah.
maybe in how you see others or how you feel seen by others? How could understanding this projection game maybe shift things a bit? Shift how you connect?
It's a deep, well, this human design stuff,
Yeah.
this look at the fifth line heretic, it really is just, scratching the surface.
So much more there. Always more layers.
Always.
Well, if this deep dive sparked something for you, if you're curious to explore more of these fascinating corners of consciousness and design,
Then please do subscribe.
yeah, subscribe, like, share Hypnosis by Design. It lets us know you're enjoying it and helps us keep bringing these kinds of conversations your way.